Today we are going to be upgrading some front shocks on a Honda 400EX quad. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to be working on this Honda 400EX quad behind me. I think they're also known as a TRX400 depending on the year. Same basic quad throughout the years. I think they changed, I think they really changed as they put reverse in them at one point, but don't quote me on that. Same basic quad through many years. This is a 2003 model and I don't know all the years. So get at me for that. And what we are doing today, I've already started on this, is we're going to be installing Yamaha YFZ450 shocks on the front of here. Now they're not a direct bolt in, and there are some modifications that need to be done to the shock, and unfortunately I don't have a machine shop in my garage. So I'm going to show you how I do it, but I highly recommend that if you decide to do this, I mean, you can use my hack method of installing them, but it's probably best to get the shock body machined. So here we have the two shocks, side-by-side comparison. That's the stock 400EX or TRX400 shock, and I've removed the upper bushing out of this, and this is the Yamaha YFZ450, and I think there's a 450R also. I've heard those shocks will not mount on this even with modifications. They're just too long, I guess. So you want to make sure if you're going to do this that you get the YFZ450 shock. I don't have my tape measure out here, but we can kind of just set them side by side and you can see, kind of line them up. You can see, yeah, we're kind of close there. So the Yamaha shock is actually a little bit shorter. You can see also that it looks like it has a bigger body on it. We've got a reservoir, we've got multiple adjustments. Adjustments here, adjustments up here. Whereas in this stock shock, the only adjustment you have is this preload collar. So obviously that's the advantages. I'm doing this for someone here, and this is what they wanted, so this is what they're going to get. Now I was hoping that this upper bushing, which I have removed, would fit into this other shock, but as you can see it does not. So the stock bushing is going to have to get modified, and out of the whole thing, that is the part that I dislike the most. I haven't researched, but if there would be a upper bushing that was this width and this diameter, that would be ideal. But we're going to have to modify this bushing, and that's the part I don't like the most, but we're going to make it work. Now here you can see what definitely needs to be modified. The lower shock mounts are dimensionally the same. The uppers are significantly different. And here we'll get out some semi-precision tools here, kind of show you. Look at that. Not all hack in this place. So we are at about, let's see, 630 thousandths, just under 0.63 inches, and this is 0.9723, something like that. So that's how much we need to machine off of this. Now to do that in my garage, we're going to be using an angle grinder here. Nothing but the best from Chicago Electric, Harbor Freight. Word of warning, don't do this. I just have to say it. Grinding aluminum with a grinding wheel is not a good thing. What happens is your grinding wheel gets full up of aluminum and you can actually overheat it and cause problems. So my recommendation is to go slow, maybe have another piece of scrap iron, and then you can grind on this a while with the aluminum and then grind some iron to try to get the aluminum out of the grinding wheel. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't do it. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it. Okay, there's our basic math. That was the measurement of the stock shock that came off. Here's the measurement of the Yamaha shock. That's how much material we have to remove. Like I said, if we were in a nice machine shop, this would be really easy. Divide that by 2. What do we got? 0.175. I drew that very bad, sorry. 0.175, and then you would just machine that off of each side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do like a little basic measurement here, and maybe with a Sharpie marker, kind of get an idea of where I want to grind down to. Draw it on here, and then we'll mount it up in the bench vise over here and start going to town with the old grinder. Just try not to destroy my precision equipment. All right, safety is some sort of priority here, so make sure you get your face mask, goggles, hearing protection, support the troops hat. As you can see, I've got some terribly drawn marks on here, so that's just kind of a guideline. I'm not going to go all the way down to it or past it, just going to get going, and then I'll use my precision measuring instrument. All right, as they say, engage safety squints, engage hearing protection. All right, doesn't take long, a couple minutes of grinding. Now I'm going to follow that up with one of these sanding discs to clean everything up after the fact. So what I'll do is I'll grind off this other side. I'll show you where my measurements are, and then these things will take quite a bit off. This is actually a pretty worn out one, so if I get a fresh one, it'll actually take off quite a bit of aluminum material as well. So once I get this within 25 thousandths or so, it's going to clean up pretty well with the abrasive wheel. Okay, so now we've got about 660, 650. It's actually a little bit too low there. That's part of the problem with this thing, using the grinder. And right there in the middle, we're way thick. And, you can even see it on here. It's kind of wavy. That's why machining this is the proper way to do it. So anyway, I'm going to hit this with the grinding wheel, this little high spot, and then I'm going to come around here and gently touch it up with the wheel. And I'll show you what it looks like in the end. Okay, it's not a thing of beauty. It's not perfect, but we got about a little bit under 625. That's a little bit low on that little spot right there. But we're within about 10-20 thousandths. Actually went a little bit small. But there you have it, and that's after cleaning it up with the sanding wheel. You could get in here with maybe like a Dremel with fine sandpaper and smooth this out, or hand sand it and smooth it out. I kind of beveled the edges and then beveled the inside edges here with a rat tail file. But she's gonna fit. One thing I'm not sure of is clearance on this shock throughout the entire travel. So this one I already cleaned out and installed the other day, and it looks like it's okay, but what I might do is take the bottom mount out of here and then kind of pivot it back and forth and make sure we clear everything. Let's see, as this shock goes, as the wheel goes up, this should push kind of that way. So you want to check the front and the back, make sure everything is going to clear. if you have to, you could either clearance out the body of the shock a little bit or clearance out the shock mount a little bit. So I'm going to double check that. But anyway, the next step is going to be modifying up this shock bushing. Now this part kind of sucks. If I had a metal lathe, you could chuck this up in there and then cut it to the width. You cut the outside of this, and then maybe you could get lucky enough that you could just go through the rubber and then cut the remaining inner bushing. I don't have a metal lathe, so I have to either cut this with a hacksaw, let's see, what else do I have? That's about it. Sawzall. Sawzall is even worse than a hacksaw as far as cutting things straight. So let me think about it. I cut the other one with a hacksaw and I was not overly happy with the results, but I'm trying to cut the body of it to about this width, but you can see the bushing inside is a little bit wider. And on this one, the inner bushing actually sticks out farther on that side. So if I cut the shock body to this width, that bushing is going to stick out too far. That's if I don't go through the bushing on this side. So let's think about it a bit and we'll see what we come up with. Well, I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but I found a bolt that'll fit through here and a nut, and I tighten it down. I'll make my own metal lathe here out of what I have available. So I chuck it up in the drill press here. We'll see how this works. I have no idea. No idea if this is going to work, but we'll try it. Now the idea here is I've got the tape kind of where the cut line's supposed to be, and then hopefully once this thing is turning I'll be able to put the hacksaw on it. Let's see what happens. It's not as easy as I had hoped. It's working. Looks like I need to bolt down my drill press. But here, let me show you. It's cutting a nice straight line. So I'm gonna go until I just get through this outer sleeve. Besides grazing it with the hacksaw blade accidentally here and put some scratches in it, that actually worked really nice. Nice straight cut. And then once I got through the outer shell, I started to cut through the rubber and I waited till I could hear it hitting this inner metal sleeve. So now what I need to try to do is peel off this section. Now unfortunately the rubber is fused onto this inner sleeve, so I'm going to have to try to dig around that with a pick or a screwdriver or something, or I'm possibly thinking I could take the hacksaw and try to carefully cut like that way maybe, and then once I got down to here, then maybe I could peel that piece off. That was a pain in the butt to get that off, and what I did is I did exactly what I was saying. I cut down, then peeled it off. But you can see where we're at now. And now I need to machine this down to about that width and then cut this one down to about that width. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put her back in the drill press again, and I'm going to try to cut this one, because at least then one side will be really nice and even, and then this side I'm probably just going to attack with the grinder, which I don't like, but with the equipment I have, that's what I can do. So cutting it in the drill press did not work, so I had to just use the hacksaw, And any of y'all who have ever used a hacksaw know that you try to cut straight and starts getting a little bit crooked. You take your time, but I cut it a little bit closer than I would like to on this side, so this side's a little bit shorter than this side, but hey, it's what we got to work with for now. Well, since I already had the bushings out, I neglected to show how I remove them, but you can use a couple of sockets. Where the heck, I don't even have a socket. So you get a socket that's the same or just slightly a smaller diameter than the inner bushing, and then one that's larger than the outside diameter, and you put it inside of a vise, or you can use a hydraulic press if you have that, and that's how you press them out. And here I'm just using the vise to press this one back in. So there you have that. All right, pressed in. Now we can check our fitment in here. And everything looks pretty good. Obviously, this is not precision machining, like I said. And ideally, you would be having a machine shop, or if you have your own machinery, you'd have them mill that down. But it is possible to do at home, and if you're patient, you probably do a much better job than I did. I sometimes don't have the best patience for this kind of stuff, but it looks like we got pretty good clearance everywhere. I don't see any reason that it's going to bind up there, no reason that it's going to bind up there, and the same on the back side, which we can't see very good. Everything looks like it's clearanced pretty well. I'm going to drop it off of the ghetto stand here and cycle it through, but that's it. I mean, not too bad. The hardest part, the part that's the biggest pain in the butt, is that bushing. So if anyone knows of a bushing that is that outer diameter and that width that you could just press in there, that'd be the way to go. Modifying the bushing was honestly the worst part. Like I said, if you're going to do this with a grinder, just take your time, go slow. It's like anytime you do a woodworking project, you know, measure 16 times, cut 15 times. But supposedly these offer better adjustability and all that kind of jazz. I guess I can imagine just looking at them, they definitely look beefier. So if you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, if I could say it, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.